Well, let me just quickly address the Candy Crowley thing. I take a bit of umbrage with calling her an activist role, or what you would say.
I didn't say she was activist.
Right.
That's the concern that people are raising.
You know, if you just want her to read the question, you don't need a professional political journalist to do that. I could do that. Ryan Seacrest could do that, as someone said to me earlier.
That would improve ratings.
Sure it would. Sure it would. So I think Candy's concerns are right, that if she's asked to moderate a debate, that all of her powers not be taken away. And if that means she's going to maybe correct some of the questions so that they're a little bit more understandable or concise.
Or follow up.
Or follow up, or hold the candidates to time limits, or say, wait, you didn't answer that, or would you please address what he just said? I think she should have that flexibility. And you know that I am not by any means a womanist. I do not fancy myself a womanist, but it's sort of like asking her, I said this earlier, to host a dinner party in the 50s. She's supposed to stay in the kitchen, make sure the coffee is hot, and let the men folk do all of the conversing.
Well, hold on a second here. Let's look at, and Ben, I want you to come in here, because if we look at recent history, I'm sorry, Guy.
People do that all the time.
Pardon me.
Last name's Benson, so...
Mr. Benson is what I meant to say. But if you look at recent history, Lair was annihilated by the press for not doing enough. They said that
not by us. We liked
we thought he was great.
Stayed out
we
of
thought he was great. I would say that we were a little, at least, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say we. I'll speak for myself. I thought that Raddatz allowed way too much nonsense to go on the last debate, and I thought that it was a little too one way to allow Joe Biden to constantly interrupt and interject where he wanted to and not have any moderation.
Yeah. Look, with Candy Crowley, there's a few things that I want to say personally. I think that some conservatives are jumping all over this one comment she made about the Paul Ryan pick. Right after Mitt Romney selected his running mate, she said maybe the ticket has a death wish, talking about Florida and the Medicare issue, and conservatives saying, look, biased liberal journalists. I happen to like Candy Crowley. I think she tries. I get the sense when I watch State of the Union on CNN that she tries to be fair. And I think, frankly, the two campaigns come off looking terrible in this.
Yeah.
She simply says, "I'm
they look afraid."
She goes. She pretty much just said, "I'm going to follow up," and they were both like,
"What?"
Angry letter.
But I do think it's important, though, that it was a town hall format for a reason, and that's to take questions from citizens. That we have so many political journalists, ourselves included, mediating the political news and how people ought to be thinking about this. That you want to see from these undecided citizens. That's apparently who they're supposed to be. And Buck, I would sort of contradict you a bit on this. You can get some of the wildest and most difficult questions from citizens because you haven't heard that question before. So I hope that Mitt Romney knows.
Hold on. I'm not saying that citizens can't ask hard questions. Right. I'm saying that a moderator can take a hard question and either push it or push it away if they want to, depending on the bias.
I think the town hall format is one of the most exciting formats because, as we all know from having been on shows with Collins, I hope Mitt Romney knows the price of eggs, knows the price of milk, knows the price of bread, knows the price of gas.
I think he knows those things. He's going to have
to relate very intimately with actual voters.
Well, she gets to pick the questions, first of all. So let's be very clear. There's a lot of questions that are submitted, and she gets to line them up. But what do you think?
I disagree. I don't like the town hall format because
these are citizens, Will.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think that you're going to get inane questions. I think you're going to get the kind of question that tripped up the first President Bush when he said, how did the national debt affect you on a personal level? I don't even know what that means. He tried to answer it, and then the citizen followed up, no, on a personal level.
John Kerry
I don't know what that question means.
You should have more faith in the questions that the audience will be
respect, and I want Candy Crowley to follow up. When Jim Lair did it well because the two candidates could challenge each other. They turned to each other and held each other's feet to the fire. In town hall format, nobody will hold the two candidates' feet to the fire. I want Candy Crowley, if I may, I want Candy Crowley there to hold their feet to the fire, hold their records to account. That's what I want.
But I see there's an established framework actually already, right? So with the 1 minute we're talking about, Candy Crowley has free reign. I think the concerns from the campaign just have to do with specifically, and maybe they're being a little whiny, I agree, but the issue has been that they might change the questions. So she shouldn't change the questions, right? She should just say, this is the question I picked from the audience. No?
Amy, what were you going to say about John Kerry?
Town hall format. John Kerry got one of the toughest questions back in 2004 when a young woman asked him about his Catholicism and abortion and how does he, put those two positions together, as we were discussing with Professor Joe, and he didn't have a very good answer. The candidates often get questions from citizens that the political journalists overlook.
Amy, you can get really stupid questions from journalists, too. If anyone remembers John King asking the Republican primary mates whether they liked Coke or Pepsi.
Guy, we're
or
surmising
Max
how
or
smart the questions will be from the audience, which
let
I
me
don't think we're in a position to do.
Here's what I'm interested in seeing. I'm interested in seeing what Mitt Romney does in this format, because he was very effective, as we saw in Denver, where he was able to stand, make his points, look directly at the President of the United States, and then wait for an answer. And then as the President answered, he wrote down point by point by point, and then came back with very persuasive rebuttals. In this case, you'll have stools and microphones.
And
he's not going to have that. It's going to be
because
different.
the currency in a town hall format becomes connecting, right? It becomes connecting, and that's not Mitt Romney's forte, by the way.
No.
But second, it's not the most important thing to me. I want your intellectual answers. I don't want to see how well you emote to the citizen
I
asking
thought
you
he
a question.
connected really well in that first debate. And in fact,
that was an intellectual
he was
debate,
the one who
It's a
came
different
off
format.
being likable and natural.
There's a lot for Romney, I think, here, more than Obama. There's room for him to actually improve here. I think that he can continue what he did in the first debate, which is convince people that he's a normal, nice guy who has real concerns. So
if you watch
the town hall debate, you may not like intellectually, but I do think that it probably might be a good thing for Romney.
And if you